preparing. It's funny because often you don't see when you're live, but I believe we are live. So good morning, lovely people. I am so grateful that I'm live with you here with beautiful.
I am losing you.
I'll leave you to in a minute because I don't have internet. So you find me in my neighbor's spare room today in her guest room. Oh no. It already says that
I
no,
lost
you have internet. Can you still hear me? You can't
I
hear
can
me.
hear you. First I heard you like a little robot, but now I can. Okay,
Okay.
You're back. You're back. I
Okay.
can and hear you properly now. Yeah.
Okay. Let's just really hope that this internet connection stays stable for the interview. Because as I just said, I lost internet connection again. It's the second time. I live in a small country town. These things happen. And I'm very grateful that my neighbor has got great internet so I can keep the interview here with Mona and didn't have to reschedule. So thank you, Rebecca and Steve, if you're watching this, for having me here. And thank you, Mona, for being here. So I want to introduce to you Mona Esser Pennock, and I would love to share a little bit about Mona before I get her to introduce herself. And that is that Mona and I got connected through a beautiful Tanya Badii, who I had here previously for an interview, as some of you might remember. And Tanya raved about a face reading that she has done. I'm like, wow, that sounds interesting. Tell me a little bit about that. And she's like, I can't put that into words. You'll be blown away. Just trust me, you need to connect with her. So Mona and I connected. We also share the same mother tongue. So it was quite interesting and beautiful to be able to do that in German and English. And yeah, long story short, I jumped in. I did a face reading and I absolutely loved it. So without further ado, because we've got a whole hour to talk about this, Mona, would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself to our beautiful audience? Good evening to New York.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so grateful to be here. So my name is Mona, and I'm so blessed to have been connected to you, Marie. And yes, so I am a face reader. I have been studying this beautiful practice, which is an ancient esoteric technique for a few years now. And finally, my teachers and my angels have told me, okay, do it. You have to offer it. So now, since over a year, I've been offering these beautiful face reading immersions where we really dive into all depth of your face. And it's been so wonderful because especially now in these strange times that we're living, people are really opening up to it. And it's something so beautiful and people want to learn more about it. So I'm very grateful, and I'm grateful to share it here with you today.
I'm so happy that I have you here because, you know, as I said, I had really no idea what I was getting into. We had a quick pre-chat and I said, look, I'm just going to give that a go. I just want to try it out because that one thing that got to me when you shared with me, you can actually look into past, present and future. And it's not like a clairvoyance thing at all. I just want to give that ahead because I've got a huge policy on no clairvoyance in this group. So I want to highlight that. It is more things are written in your face, and we're going to be sharing a little bit about that today. So maybe, Mona, if you don't mind, we can start with a little bit of the history of how that actually all started, because that to me was really interesting to know.
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, so the practice that I have been studying now is mainly inspired by the Chinese face reading. Nevertheless, I'm always a big fan to giving credit to everyone. So face reading was actually practiced already by shamanism, by shamans and high cultures in South America, as well as Egypt, old Greece, as well as in India. And right now, this whole face reading trend is being reintroduced, mainly coming from China. And there are kind of two lines of face reading. One is the medical part, and one is the characteristical part. And as I told you, it's so interesting how this medical part really started. So back then in China, before the big dynasties, people, when women were sick, they were not allowed to be touched by the male doctors. So whenever they weren't feeling well, they actually had a little doll, ivory doll, or even a handmade doll next to their bed, and then showing the doctor where it would hurt, and he would compare the face to the points and dots where she was showing on the little doll. And this is kind of how the medical part really came. And it's kind of simultaneously also the characteristical face reading was developed, really in a way that right now it's kind of absurd for us to think about it. Once the baby was born, king and queen would look over it, be like, okay, is he or she the new leader? Is she gonna be fertile enough? Is he gonna be strong enough to go into war? So it's been a really, really big part of their culture, and has now also a huge part in Chinese medicine itself, in the how to collect the herbs, how to adjust, and as well as acupuncture. So it's all connected to each other.
Connected. I just absolutely love this, because I've been, you know, dealing with traditional Chinese medicine for quite a few years, you know, like even when my boys were young. And I remember my little one breaking out into hives when he had Chinese takeaway food for the first time. Funny enough, Chinese, not mentioning that, but you know, you had that, what is it called? Oh God, glutamat in German. What is it in English? Help me here, Mona.
Gluten.
Yeah, it's got this.
Okay,
yeah,
it's GMO. No, MSG.
Yes,
MSG.
MSG. That's the one. Yay, we got it, people. So it had MSG in it, and he broke out in hives. And I took him to a friend of mine who does TCM, and she did acupuncture on him. And I've been seeing her with my boys from very little, and it's always been amazing. Like even like she used to read my tongue. She looked at my tongue and it's like, oh, you've got this and that. Oh, you've got this and that. Let's look at that. And she was always spot on, and I was blown away. So that was my intro to TCM when the boys were little. And then, you know, years later, a decade later, I met you. Good morning, Heather, by the way. And thank you so much for watching, beautiful people. I always love when I have some people watching this live with us. So please feel free to ask any questions or comment. I'm more than happy to ask Mona live, because this is why I always have my phone here so I can read the comments while you're live with us. So thank you for the little introduction. So I would love to also get into this, Mona. You know, the reason why I did a face reading with you is because I heard this whole, you know, you can look at your past, present, future. It actually shows you in terms of how, and we had a quick pre-chat and talk about this, how you can actually, what is your go-to, how you deal with adversity, how can you deal with grief, i.e., you know, this is very relevant to our group, and maybe you can share a little bit about that in terms of how do you read that in somebody's face, you know, like I have now experienced it firsthand. So for me, it was so spot on, and I have to say, Mona knew nothing about me. I showed her, you know, I sent her pictures. She doesn't even see me live. She's in New York, I'm in Australia, you know, and she didn't even see me live, meet me live. And I sent her the pictures, and she said all these things where I'm like, how on earth do you know this is so spot on, you know? And yeah, anyway, we'll talk a little bit more detail about that, but give us an idea of how does the reading start even?
Yeah, it's super incredible, because just like all energy readings, everything that is inside of here, what is happening inside of our being, reflects into our faces or bodies. So how we start reading a face is actually that we tune into the eyes. And this is how also my company is called, right? Be-shen. So the shen is reflected in the eyes. And I think we can all imagine ourselves on a happy day when we are shining and when we are bright, our eyes look bigger, they look more magnetic. But then on the other side, if we're not having a good day, we're kind of shutting our eyes down, even though they're still open. So we're tuning into the shen, and the shen gives us kind of the entrance into our being, into our face, almost like eyes are the windows to our souls, what a lot of these spiritual scriptures also describe. So how we start reading the face is really going into, and then you're feeling something about that person. But since, as you said, it is not about psychic abilities here, it is really about seeing something concretely. So we see the thing in the eyes, the energy, but then we move like a face map through the entire literally like our Google Maps, or back then when we were going on hikes and didn't have our phones and really were like using a map. Every little line, every little marking, every little difference between the two sides that we're going to speak about in a second tells us something. So in your case, when we were seeing these, when we were asking, okay, what happened with in your 20s, in your end of your 20s, and we were figuring out, wow, these were the years where you had to move back from Europe to Australia, and that was really exhausting. Is because that area where we saw these these lines were happening in the forehead, and the forehead represents the 20s and mid and late 20s. So each and every part of our face says something about the past, the present, and the future potential. And if you want, I can already right now talk a little bit more about the two sides, because I think that's very important for people to understand. So
I'd love to. Can I just say one thing quickly before you do? Because I'd really love to get into that straight away. The one thing that really stood out for me, and that to me is what Loving Life After Loss is all about. You know, the whole movement that I run here is about looking at the bright side, literally looking at the bright side. What can we do? Not what can't we do, what have we lost, but what can we do? How can we heal? And that to me, there was one key moment. I'm not sure if you actually are aware of how intense that was for me, and I want to share this with you live here because it was so beautiful, was that you asked me what happened between 7 and 9, because there was something, and she said, and you focus on what positive happened. And it was one of the most intense times in my life, and there is some childhood trauma as well, and you actually focused on the positive. And I, all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, had to think back to that time, but look for the positive rather than the negative, rather than the trauma, rather than the intensity and the hard times that I was going through. You asked me to focus on the positive, and that was the first time in my whole life that I was asked that. And that was so incredibly beautiful for me, because it was like it was the most amazing opportunity to look back at something that was traumatic for me, and look for the positive. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing, because it was like, again, it was another layer of healing for something that I have now healed. But it was another layer. It was another, wow, this is really beautiful. And it was such a gift for me.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
It can really change the perspective. And as we discussed before we went live, the real mission also with this beautiful face reading technique is to look at your strength rather than your weaknesses, because seeing if these are our strengths and these are our weaknesses, right? And if we work on our weaknesses and let's say the darkness or the side that we're not good at, we're just going to arrive here. But what happens if we actually work on our strength or the goodness onto the light? We actually do things that we are good at. We're following the bliss. We're following the things that we can lift people up. And then this is like the trickle down effect, right? Once we are living in our, let's say, positive or in our divine talents, doing something that we're actually good at, we're all thriving. And I think that's why the face reading is so important to society, because in the end, we all have it. We all have it. We all have the markings. And I think we are living our lives a lot trying to be somebody and working on our weaknesses because society or the corporate world or family or whatever tells us to. But once we looking at the bright side and actually what is written in my face, I'm not such a social person, so I don't have to be social, and accepting that this certain level of acceptance of being like, okay, let me live a talent rather than the other side is something really beautiful.
There's a lot of reassurance in that, which I really love, because as you said, everything I focus on in my programs, in my teaching, in my healing journeys, in everything I do in this movement and in my life is about shifting perspectives. And that is the beautiful thing of it. This is, I think, why we clicked so well when we did this session, and just the beautiful energy that comes with it. But we'll get to that part as well. So if you want to share a little bit about the
I would love
different halves of our face.
So I always like to share a personal story. So when I was very little, and we went to a little store, and I was asking my mom, why is that model on that poster? Or why is she the model here? Or he the model? My mom would always say, I guess because he or she has a symmetrical face. And I was always like, okay, I don't understand, but whatever. Only when I started studying this magical ancient technique, I was like, okay, it makes sense. I'm going to tell you why. there's this special line how our face gets kind of divided into two parts. Also, the reason why we have two hands, two arms, two legs is actually because one represents the yin and one represents the yang side. So both sides have something different showing about our lives, our persona. So the left side represents, because it's closer to the heart, the private side. What is my real me? What is the real Marie? What is the real Mona, right? How am I to the closest people, family, close family or friends? The right side represents the public side. How am I to people that I don't know so well? How am I in business, corporate world, right? Like how am I almost, you can say, pretending to be, subconsciously or consciously. It doesn't matter. It's really just normal, right? And when I started reading faces, I was realizing, oh God, these sides are never balanced, and which is absolutely normal. But I got the answer to the question, to the situation when I was little. Why is symmetry so important? Okay, so little quiz for everyone. If left side is aligned with right side, if the yin and yang is one balance, what does it mean? We are our purest, most honest, authentic self.
Yeah.
That's it gives me goosebumps right now, because that's an achievement. It is something that we have to build over our years, right? Over our years of life. And it doesn't happen often. I have read a lot of faces in the last years, and my teachers even more, and they've told me that's not often. A person that has balanced face, yin and yang in one, you get what you see. The person is just real. And that's why subconsciously we are attracted to these people. And if you look at baby faces or children faces, they mostly have very balanced faces. What does it mean again? Of course, the children are the seers, the most authentic, most honest beings. And then only if they reach a certain age, then they start to change. And it's very powerful, and it's something that each and everyone, maybe today, whoever is watching, can look when they are in front of a mirror, even looking at pictures, is really seeing, okay, so is my left eye bigger or is my right eye bigger, right? So it's very beautiful to see, okay, how are my differences in the face? And I think that was kind of the main message also in your reading, is like, how can I bring my left side, my inner self, into my outer world, right? And my outer world also into my inner world, and kind of have this like beautiful mixture. It also leads me to a point that I really wanted to share with everyone, because in these old scriptures, they say from 0 to 25, you have the face of your parents. Which makes sense, because if we look back at older pictures of us, we still have like a lot of fathers and mothers influence. But once we reach the very special age of 25 to 50, we create our face. We create the Marie face, we create the Mona face, with our failures, with our loss, with our joy, with our disappointments, with our happiness, with our parties, with our beach vacations, all of that, right? And from age of 50 until we move to the other side, until we leave this body this time, we get the face that we deserve. I think that's always this powerful thing, because I think we all know this elderly person who has a lot of lines, but still looks young, still looks vibrant, still looks dynamic.
Vibrant, that's the word, exactly. That's the most beautiful part.
Not even, it doesn't even look old to me, almost super Buddha style, let's say, you know? But then we know also people that are only like 60, like not that old, we're like, ooh, that is turning into a little bit of a bitterness, where you can see the face almost falling into each other, like really losing its shape in a way. So I think since the face is such a big representation of our being, the more we can lift our face up with our own inner energy, the better. And to do that, we have to know our face. That's why we have to get to know our face maps, right? So
it's really funny, like since I had the reading, I've been touching this like so many times, where you said, can you feel that here, you know? And I've been literally like going over and over again. And now I saw it in my son as well, because my son's got like literally a lot of my face, and I've seen the same little thing in here, you know, that groove. And I thought, wow, this is so amazing. He's got that too. Mona, I've got a complete left field question for you. Like, one thing that people always say to me, like, obviously, like, my eyes are my features, they stand out, and it's nothing new to me. But the one thing that always made me wonder is, people pay me the most compliments about my eyes, like literally, oh my God, they're so vibrant, they're so this, when I am super tired, when I literally only had an hour or two of sleep. And I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me, but it really stands out to me as well. They look extra blue, they look extra bright, and it's actually completely counterintuitive to what we just talked about, you know, the Shen. But I don't know, you might have an idea about that. I've got no idea.
I just got an idea. Remember when we spoke about that you're giving a lot, constantly giving. And remember we said you have the strength up here in the eyebrows.
Yeah.
I feel like you also have this leadership, right? Like leadership and strength. And I think sometimes when you're tired or a little bit lower energy, not negative energy, just a little lower, you maybe seem even more grounded. Because like vibrant energy is mostly up here. It's like, hi guys, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. But when you're a little bit more tired, you're maybe a little bit more grounded, and people can even relate to you more. It could be the reflection that the eyes give us a more, let's say, calmer you. And it would be so interesting to see who said that, what kind of people. Because also something very interesting about the face, that we often attract people that have something in their faces that we also have. So maybe people that like a certain calmness or a little bit of more groundedness when you're tired, a little bit more softer, let's say, because tiredness makes us a little softer. Maybe they have that written in their face saying, oh, I like that kind of person. So we would have to do a little research on that.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that from now on. Hey, Jelena. I love it. All right, so
one moment, I'm just gonna turn the light on here a little bit more.
Oh, it's getting dark in New York.
Yes,
it's getting there. You go.
Oh, okay, much better. Yeah.
Oh, that's better. So in terms of the face reading, so we started off with me sending you a few pictures, and you quite a few actually, and maybe let's just stop at that one, because that is really the most important part of the whole face reading. Tell us a little bit about what you need and why you need so many pictures.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, we could zoom in with each other anywhere and have such a good quality that I could do the reading like that. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So pictures are super important. And I always say that it's even better to get them taken by somebody, not professionally, just the phone, because the selfie cam doesn't have the quality that the other camera has. So usually the best case would be to have 4 pictures. One, just a little bit of a jail picture, just like this, looking straight. Closing, if you can, closing the lips. If they don't close, just like this. One with a little bit of a smile, and then one from the side, so that I can completely see your profile. And with the ears say a lot. That's where we read your story, remember, about the between 7 and 9. So one from this
that
side,
was from my ears, I didn't realize.
And one from this side. So and then it's best case scenario always, of course, it depends how you feel comfortable, but without makeup. So that all the little colorations and the little freckles and the little dimples and natural lip color are visible.
Yeah.
This is also giving us a lot of insight of, for example, medical situations that we can see, or just different elements that we can see reflected in the face. So it's always important, and obviously to do it in good light. I always say, send me more than not enough.
Yeah.
You know,
I sent you quite a few, and I said, don't you ever share them on Facebook. No makeup, really horrible.
Everyone says that because everyone,
oh my God.
everyone has their angle, right? That's why I always ask
Yeah.
people, so which one is your favorite side? Because people are like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Then you know which side you take the selfie with,
That
right?
chocolate
That's
side.
time your chocolate side. So, exactly. So these pictures are quite important to
Yeah.
take
I
and
never
send.
thought about what side of my face I would prefer. It's really interesting. I've never had the whole, it has to be from the right or the left. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
preferences which tattoo I prefer. Yeah, definitely that, I prefer that side tattoo, which is interesting, my left side. But yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
so okay, so with the reading, we started off with the pictures. We did a really beautiful practice at the beginning. So there's a lot of energy work involved as well, which I really, really loved. In particular, what you did at the end. But talk us a little bit through that. So you prepare for the reading. You need a couple of days to prepare. And how do you actually prepare for the reading? Talk us a little bit about through how you run that.
yeah. So how I have studied with a wonderful master of mine in Zurich, and she's really a traditional Chinese face reader, and I
Mm.
loved it so much. But I have also been studying a lot of other energy techniques like
Mm-hmm.
numerology. I am studying tantric kundalini yoga, as well as human design and all different chakra alignment methods. So when I
Mm-hmm.
was doing the first readings, they were always around an hour. But for me, I was like, oh, I have so many more ideas how to integrate an
Mm-hmm.
entire immersion. So that's why this face reading is now called face reading immersion, because it's a 2.5 hour session, right?
Yeah.
So how I prepare is really getting the faces and tuning in through the eyes. And then it's going, like I said earlier, like a map. I see creativity here, I move up here, and I look, is there more creativity? And
Mm.
this is how you really go through step by step, and slowly a story is forming. It's a story.
Mm.
Story of your face, the
Mm.
story of your past, the story of your present, and then you can also see, okay, she has all of these talents, so most probably her future is going to be like that, without doing any fortune telling, just really saying, well,
Mm.
that's the energetical potential, right? And
Mm.
um, I like to tune into the reading with a certain kind of mantras, as we did, to have a little bit of a safe tent. And for me, it's
Mm.
very important to go into an energy work, and especially into this immersion, without judgment,
Mm.
because a lot of people in society puts us into like this weird thought of judging our face. Oh, I don't like this, or
Yeah.
I don't like that, right? So
Yeah.
I really want um, the beautiful soul that works with me and I to have this cozy tent where it's just
Mm.
us, without judgment, towards the
Yeah.
practice, towards each other. And
Yeah,
then
I want to, sorry to interrupt you quickly, Mona. I want to say something that is because it is really confronting for women, in particular, mostly
yeah,
women, I think,
yeah,
to send you pictures of the face and no makeup and really from the worst angle. So you can really see everything. And I think we ourselves are our biggest critics usually. And I even thought, although I am at an age where I'm quite comfortable with whatever there is, I
yeah,
still thought, that could be confronting. What are the things that she's going to tell me and what are the things that she's going to read? And then I sort of let go of that before the reading, but I thought of it when I sent the pictures through. I'm like, oh, whatever, and just let go of it. And then I went into the reading and I was really pleasantly surprised that there was no judgment whatsoever. There was no focus. There was no mention of anything negative. Everything was just potential. Let's look at that. What were the perspectives? What happened there? But everything had a positive and really beautiful focus. And I really love that. It was such a nurturing experience for me, which I have to say, it's a perfect word. And so I just wanted to highlight that because it can sound quite confronting
yeah.
before you go into it, yet there was no confrontational feeling for me during the reading whatsoever, not even the slightest. So it was really beautiful. I really love
Thank you
that.
so much for saying that, because there is also no positive or negative in the face. It's just potential.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
always say the
Mm.
mantra is so important for me is have a crush on your face. Have a crush on yourself
I
and on
love
your
it.
face. So I work with a lot of clients who also want to boost their self-love, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I really don't like my nose. Or I really don't like that. But once I tell them what
Mm.
actually stands behind energetically a bigger nose, they're like, oh my God, I love my
Yeah.
nose,
Now
right?
I love it. Mm-hmm.
So as I told you too, right? Like you can
Yeah.
touch also certain places in your face, or certain spots, to elevate the certain connection in your
Mm.
body.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it is really, really no judgment. It is really just
Mm.
reading things that you know. Because I always say, we have these things that we see, right? Like with our eyes, I
Mm.
see this 100%. This
Yeah.
right here, I see kind of, and things here, I'm kind of putting into the closet. And what the
Mm.
face reading does, we're putting all on the table, and we're gonna love it all. And
Yeah.
not right now. It might take years until we like, okay, until we can finally be in peace with our bigger nose or our
Mm.
uh, strange ears or whatever. But all of it says something about us. So that's why I think we talked about this too. Um, for example, with plastic surgery, there's also no judgment here. Absolutely
Mm.
not at all. There's this line that a lot of us have, which is like this little bit of a frustration, stress
Stigma.
line. Yeah, a lot of people. It's just pretty normal. It's like the most common line, let's say. And a
Mm.
lot of people, they would put something in there for it to go away. Totally fine. But then they wonder why 3 months later it comes back.
Mm.
If we don't change this won't change, right? So that's why it
Yeah.
really gives the potential, and even with your wonderful community who
Mm.
are working to looking into the bright side, it really
Mm.
gives us potential to see, okay, but what are my talents or my potential to heal? Because everyone heals differently.
Mm.
Yeah, and also depending on which element
Yeah.
you have written in your face, depending on what side is stronger,
Mm.
everyone heals differently. So with this face reading, we can also really pull out each and everyone's individual spiritual cocktail, let's say, or spiritual practice.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
you might be a person, you need physical workout to kind of put your body into a place of meditation. Some people just need to sit down and start meditating or
Mhm.
doing something else, right? So it's very much the practice is pulling out an individually
Mm.
bucket full of stuff for you. And then you
Yeah.
can choose what you're doing with it, right? So
Mm.
there's a lot of potential in every phase because every phase just exists one time.
Yeah. Just
We
as
have just
unique as your fingerprint.
exactly.
Have you, just out of interest, have you ever done a face reading for twins?
No, but I'm about to. So funny that you
Oh,
asked.
wow.
So funny. So two friends of mine are twins,
Yeah.
identical. Um,
Wow.
as a face reader, I do have to say though, they look like two different people to me.
Yeah, I would say so. That's why I was interested in it. It's like,
Right?
yeah, like because as a mom, when I don't have twins, and certainly not identical twins either, but it's just something where I feel as a mom, you just learn to read them so easily. You can tell them apart like that, which might take years for other people, or they might be fooled for the rest of their lives, and they can swap positions and stuff at school. But, for a face reader, I think that would be such an interesting exercise to do. So have you started mapping it already, or have you not received the
I have
photos yet?
started mapping it already, and
How cool.
it is very wonderful actually, because they have even like, because I also love looking at astrology charts and human designs just because I'm so
Mm-hmm.
curious and I like to integrate all
Yeah.
the practices.
Mm.
The face puts them apart.
Yeah.
They just the lip shapes and then how the lines develop, because one of them
Yeah.
might be a little bit more stubborn than the other one, or one of them might already work in a field that she feels good about, so doesn't
Mm.
have that one, let's say,
Yeah.
unhappiness or something like this, right? There are
Yeah.
really strong differences, because also even though you're identical in terms of the genetics, they're
Mm.
still eat differently, they're still gonna travel differently, they're still gonna hang
Yeah.
out sometimes with different people, even though the ones that I'm talking about, they hang out with the same group, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So they're also influenced by the same people.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I do have to say it's kind of, for me, it's kind of easy to tell them apart, and they have different
Yeah.
stories. We
Yeah.
said that we're gonna do one together where we talk
Mm-hmm.
about what really connects them, and then also
Yeah.
one we say, okay, these are your individual things where
Yeah.
you can be like, oh, that's me, and it's just me,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Without anyone being, let's say, a copy of it.
That's
Yeah.
really perfect. I just absolutely love it. So, all right, talk us through a little bit more. So how do we go through the face reading? You look at certain areas, you discover, like, i.e. creativity, you look for where else you can find it, what else supports that. I was just trying to remember, what was that little groove that we talked about that was literally going through my face?
You mean the philtrum down here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's my favorite. The favorite part of every face. My absolute favorite part.
I've never noticed till you asked me to feel it. I'm like, oh my God, I have that here
It
too. And I'm
goes,
like, wow, this is so
it goes.
exciting.
So it is. So the face is really much connected to energy, as we said, because it's part of traditional Chinese medicine, right? But also it makes so much sense. The nose represents our lungs. The nose is where we take in air, chi, right? Our prana, the most important thing to survive, let's say. But then also we have our lips that takes in all earthiness, our food and our water. And the lungs, the nose represent the heaven, and the lip represent the earth. And when they both come together, they create this beautiful part, which is called philtrum. And this part represents the fertility of a person. And also, we said that with you together, what is the highest form of creation that a human can do is obviously creating another human, right? So this is once we give this part attention and we can even massage it. This is where the creativity sits. Yeah, this is really much showing us how much energy will I have my whole life long. And there are different shapes. There are this shape and this shape and this shape, and every shape has a different flow of energy during your life. And for your case, it was this, she even had extra creativity, guys. Who would have thought? Of course she does. So it sometimes can flow. It sometimes can flow the lips on here. And I also have it right here. So it is really representing, okay, the flow of energy, tuck, is rushing through us. And it's everything once. So in the reading, I also really always want to explain the people where do I see things, because I don't want to sit on my pedestal and be like, so this is how your face is. No, because it's all so usable for us in our daily life. So I really try and always make it my mission to explain people where do I see this in your face, so that my clients can really give these parts of their face some extra love, right? That's why I asked, what's your favorite part in your face? What's your least favorite? Just to see, and it just gives you an idea about, okay, what kind of relationship do I have to myself, right?
Yeah.
And it is just very, very, let's say, deep, and also a lot. Remember, like you were also like, okay, I need to digest all of this. Not that it's heavy or anything, but it's just a lot.
No, but it was a lot. Yeah.
Hear about yourself for 2.5 hours and hear about all of the beautiful potential, right? And for me, when I received my first face reading, that was almost 5 years ago. I'm still thinking back to that, and I was like, oh my God, she said that to me back then. And now I'm only realizing, oh, it's reflecting in my face, but she already saw it then, which is it's a very powerful practice too. And through reading the face map, I'm channeling a lot of like information, and I'm seeing, okay, formula 1 + 1, creativity here, creativity there, and open eyes. Okay, so her potential is obviously like yours to be in a community, to lead a community, right? And
I'm lucky for the right place for it.
According to this, I can give a lot of guidance to people in terms of, okay, I encourage you to maybe try this a little bit, or to work a little bit more with your body, or work a little bit less with your body and more with your mind. So there's so many things that we can recommend through reading the face. And the thing
Speaking about that, Mona, oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, I just wanted to say, because we all love astrology and we all love the numbers. I love that. And I'm a student of astrology because it's just so powerful that I want to stay a student. But with numerology and human design, I'm really practicing it right now. But the faith is just so intimate, but yet so exposed at the same time.
Yeah.
Just, can you hide your
amazing,
face?
isn't it?
Right now we have the mask situation, but like, how did it change, right? If we just think about everyone right now, how did it change? Of course, it's also this weird thing, this terrible thing that it came with, but just not seeing faces. The
Mm.
secret communication that we have through the face is just something
Mm.
so wonderful and inspiring, especially
Yeah.
these micro expressions, as you just said with your boys, right? You know, when
Mm.
somebody does this, when they do just a little movement, you just exactly know who he is. If it's the little
Yeah.
one, it's just, you just remember these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely loved it. So I want to also link this a little bit more to our audience here in terms of how can a face reading, because that is the obvious question here to ask, and I want to put this on the table. How can a face reading support people in their healing journey? How can you link that for them? Because we talk about guidance as well. We talk about all these things already. Like we kind of touched on that, but we didn't really get deep into it. So I'd really like to hear from you. How do we make this connection here? How can this help our audience here?
So the different energies that affect our traumas or actions that affect our being are,
Mm.
as said, written into our face. And
Mm.
depending on which part of the face I see that, or we see that trauma in a way, or that loss, we can then see, okay, this part is connected to creativity. Why is the marking right there? So
Mm.
for that person, it would be, maybe you want to boost your creativity or do things that you like in the creative realm to be able to see the light again, or to be pushed up and to feel elevated a little bit.
Mm.
The same way as if somebody, for example, has the sadness markings more on a bone structure.
Mm.
If it's more on a bone structure, it means it is less puffy, less creativity, but more physical. Yeah. How can I, in my physical body, let go of things or let go of pain? And there are
Mm.
different practices that we can do and recommend once we see where the markings are, as well
Mm.
as just knowing, because I think when we go through moments where we feel a lot of sadness and loss or trauma,
Yeah.
we lose the connection to our inner self, the good stuff
Mm.
that we also carry. So
Mm.
being reminded of
Yeah.
who am I really? Like what we
Yeah.
experienced with you, and you were like, most probably you must have felt like a queen, like a fairy, like an angel. Wow, this is all me. Being reminded how great we are reminds us
Mm.
how worth it is to actually live in a
Yeah.
right way. It makes me cry,
Mm.
but like it's
Mm.
no matter what we go through and no matter how hard it is and how much it affects us, we we are here with sent here with certain talents and certain energies to actually live with that and create with that,
Mm.
eventually give to people through that. So what
Yeah.
the faith really does is reminding us, who are we
Yeah.
and what practices will help me to become that,
Mm.
or who am I already and how can I elevate that. So it's very
Yeah.
much kind of what we discussed, but in a more precise way. And
I really love that part. I just want to quickly highlight that as well. I really love that part of that. Who are we? Because this can really, really help us to reconnect to our true inner self. And for me, that question, who am I after loss, was a really big one, because there is a few different parts to that. There is this part where you're like, okay, you go into what I always call like functioning mode. Straight after Rob passed, I was in functioning mode. I was literally just doing all the things I had to do, paperwork, preparing the funeral, all the things that come, like for months and months, there was paperwork to do and things to arrange. And so in my life, for me, the best wording I could find for that was functioning mode. You just literally do that without overthinking. You just do one after the other. And then there is also, of course, when you get to this part of really living again and allowing joy back in, love back in, that, and laughter. That was the thing for me that I did quite consciously, quite early on after Rob passed over, because I knew how important that was to hold on to that and to keep allowing that. And it was not easy, but it was an important decision. It was a huge part of my healing journey to do that. So it was the allowing that sort of numbness, but also allowing the joy, allowing the sadness, allowing all of it in, and feel it all. And a lot of people, after experiencing an adversity like that, shut the joy part off and replace it with guilt. How can I possibly feel happy after my husband, after my child, after my parent died, you know? And that, to me, is all part of living. It's part of living before, it's part of living after. And you are still here, and you still have the right to experience joy and love and laughter. And so, not just through that, and, you know, that part of you that is kind of numbed a little bit and goes into functioning mode, but also that part of you that still wants to live, and then that part of you that you have yet to discover, where it goes into creating that new you. And it's not that all of you is new. There's still the characteristics and all of that. And this is where I see the perfect reflection of that past, present, and future in the face reading as well, where that all comes together. And that, to me, was really huge. So even to the point where one of my first healing journeys in this very movement here, I called "Who Am I After Loss?" because that is such a big question for a lot of us. You know, that was the exact title. I changed it later on, but that was, you know, what I was going through. So the whole movement grew with my healing, and I just absolutely love that. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that back to how supportive this reading was for me, also as in getting that assertiveness from outside. It's not just what I feel, it's actually literally written in my face, you know, and that's what I love so much about it. It's how often do we say that? Oh, it was written all over his face, all over her face, you know. It's such a saying, and it's incredible how true that is.
Absolutely. I love how sayings sometimes actually are so true when we like look at the base of it. And when you just talked about this guilt factor of like, oh, am I actually allowed to live life again? Should I?
Yes.
Connecting to the face is also so beautiful, is just to say, tell the community, we have it, as you just said, written in our face. We will have the pain, the loss written in our face, but then we can also leave it there and not let it go deeper into our skin, but move on and use the other parts of our face and experience them. Because in every part of our face is to be experienced, the loss just as much as the joy, just as much as the humor, just as much as our creativity. So I think this was just so balanced, or so well aligned to the past, present, and future, because the past is the loss is in the past and it's written there. But there are certain lines that then can fall down, they can become one, and then it can turn into really deep and not so nice areas, let's say, and energetical realms. But when we decide, okay, I have it, and this happened to me, and it was the worst, but now I still have this line and that, and this part of my face that can actually hold my face up again. And also, I remember what I said to you is, when we were looking at your lips, where a lot of the sensual and the giving, the earth energy is coming from, is even though you went through a lot, and not only with your loss, but even before that, you already were carrying a lot of like experience in life. It's just experience. You still held the lips up. Remember, we were saying lips were holding up. So there is a power inside of us that we can awaken to be like, okay, it's written in my face, yes, and I went through something, but now there are other things that let me smile, let me experience joy, right? And let me elevate. So,
and that's exactly what we need to discover, you know, those other things in life that allow us to experience joy. And it takes us to start with that. It takes us to open up to that. And the opening up part, I also want to share with you, we all know these interviews are not sales calls at all, but if you do want to have a chat to Mona about this, we will post the details below, and Mona has very generously given a special offer to this group. So we will post that in the link in the comments below after the interview, so you can touch base with her directly. The one thing that I really want to emphasize that I really loved so much, like I already loved the whole reading, you know, how you can actually read those things in my face. I was like, wow, this is incredible. You knew nothing about me, and then you literally read me like an open book. That's what a face is to you, really. What I really loved is how we finished the face reading. You know, I knew that you said, you know, I'm going to go into a little bit of a download and I'm going to do a bit of a meditation with you. But it was incredible. It was not, I'm saying that as if I didn't expect much. I just thought it's a nice little, you know, exit, but it was just so incredible. Like I really, if you don't mind, I'm going to share this actually, because that
Yes.
really blew me away in that meditation. And it was literally a download that you did on the spot. And I sat in my comfortable office chair. You're like, do you want to lay down somewhere? I'm like, no, I'm super comfortable. I've got this view. Most of you have seen it before, the comfortable office chair. And I leaned back and I had this amazing experience where I had this beautiful vision of, it was, I can't describe it in any other words. It was like a mix of my higher self and my childhood self that merged into one person and hugged my actual self. It was like a yin and yang hug. Like it was such a melting and merging together. It was incredible. It was energetically incredible. It was like a coming home. It was really like almost like broken parts of my soul all merging together. It was absolutely incredible. It was such a gift for me. And I actually want to watch the whole thing again. The whole reading. I'm so incredibly pleased that I did record it, that I did ask you if you're okay with me to record it, and I do want to watch that back because it was just amazing. Just for that experience alone, the whole thing was worth it. But I got so much more out of that than just that. But it was such a perfect finish to it all, and I was like, wow, really, really blown away. That hung around me for days. That energy, it was just really incredible.
Oh,
just floating around.
Thank you so much.
I felt very blessed. Yeah.
It was very special because it also always gives me so much. Like I get energy through that because I love doing it. So this is just another reminder: is if we do things that we love, we actually don't feel depleted. We actually feel energized, right?
Yeah.
And moment was so special to me too because at the end, as I said, like at the end of the meditation, I always like to gift something, right? Another little energetic little rep gift, and I usually individually channel these meditations. Whatever I see in the face, wherever I see the potential, wherever I see a little bit of where we can puffer up something, where we can elevate something, where which corner of our body, our soul needs a little bit of light. And then I usually have like a 15-20 minute meditation, or let's say deeper immersion into the being. And for you, it had such a beautiful vision involved, which I'm super grateful, and which really fits, right? That your yin and yang came together because we were talking so much about the left and the right side. And always, that's why I went from like a 1 hour session into a 2.5 hour immersion, because you really meet yourself. You're first getting an introduction into the face reading, then we're going through your face map, and at the end, like letting go and letting that energy move through us. Because I often feel when I go into beautiful readings, I'm like, okay, that's a lot, but then I don't know how to digest it. What I want to do with this beautiful end meditation is let's digest a little bit. Let's digest this energy of listening to about ourselves for 2 hours. That's a lot. But then how does it feel energetically without words? Just letting it move through us. And I think that makes this face reading immersion quite special, because it is really it has a very input heavy side, but then also you are able to release at the end and leave what you don't want to carry anymore, right? Especially the judgment towards yourself. And
we all have that. And I just want to say that because we're all human, you know, we all have days and moments where we judge ourselves, and some of us have that a lot more than others. And I certainly have that too. I have my moments where I do judge myself. I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, you know, like even I have to admit, before I went into this interview, because I had a super early start this morning, I had to get up at 4:30 a.m. totally forgot about it. Like I was thinking about it all week, and then last night I was like, oh my god, I have to be up at 4:30. Everybody to bed now. And then I came back, and the boys were off to school, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, oh my god, I look so tired. I really need to do something. And I have my ways to boost my energy, and makeup is usually not my go-to option either, because I saw Shalina posting before. I really don't wear makeup often, or I rarely wear makeup, and I hardly wear makeup either. I do love my mascara because I really love my lashes.
Yes,
I
yes,
did
yes.
put a bit of pink eyeshadow on to match my scarf today, and to make myself look a little bit brighter. But I do, like, the breathing and the pumping music, and that in itself already helps me to be energized. And then, like, once we're in the interview, it's all good, and I'm happy. But before I went in, there was judgment. There was judgment by looking myself in the mirror, and I'm like, Marie, be nice. And yeah. So I went in thinking, oh my God, I wonder if Mona can tell that I got up at 4:30 when she's going to read it in my face.
I couldn't tell. It is really much for me also a big challenge to, when I look at old pictures that maybe a year ago I would judge myself on the picture, and I would look at the picture now I'm like, oh no, she was great back there. Like there's almost so much judgment against ourselves in the moment. And I think the face reading can help us a little, or just knowing ourselves, connecting to our face, can help us a little bit be like, I kind of like that nice nose, and I kind of like these lips, and it's just, the more we connect to certain parts of our being, like our numbers or our face or our astrology, the more we actually get to know ourselves, and the more we can tune into our intuition too, and be like, ooh, this is good for me, or this is not good for me, right? So judgment, unfortunately, everyone has it against ourselves, and I wish we could put it away, but step by step, we're all growing step by step. It's
absolutely. And I have to say that the face reading that with you, really, it just put so much reassurance into my path as well. It was really beautiful to hear that from somebody from the outside that doesn't even know me, and yet I feel you know me so intimately after this face reading. It's really incredible. And with the work that I do, it can get lonely at times, because you lead a group like this, and I have my beautiful team of moderators, and I have my mentor business wise. I've got a business mentor, and always have and always will. Yet I lead the group, I run the programs, and there's often this thing that comes in. We're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? Am I doing, and then doing things like that can really bring beautiful reassurance that you are on the right path. And your face reading definitely was a massive reassurance for me that I do exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And I love that. It was a really good feeling. It was really beautiful for me, because I do love what I do. Yet, as I said, you have your moments where you question, am I on the right path? And I think we all have that, leading a group or not. We all have these moments where we ask ourselves, am I on the right path? Career-wise, relationship-wise, anything really in life. And I just loved doing that with you. So
it was an honor.
With that being said, I can't believe that we've filled a whole hour already. Mona, are there any last famous words that you would like to share with the audience, that you would like to leave our audience with today? And
I think I would like to share that each and every one of us is so individual. So each and every healing journey is so individual. And my biggest mission with be-shen, with this beautiful movement that I am creating right now, is for us to have a crush on ourselves and get to know ourselves, our deepest self. The crush on ourselves. And this is our work, and this is life work. It will take us.
That needs to be your tagline. be-shen, have a crush on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. True. You're right. So have a crush on yourself. And even on days where it's even harder, even more, tell yourself even more that you're great. And I fall in love with each and every individual that does a reading or a coaching with me or anything like that, because the individuality of each person is so divine. So each and every one is supposed to have a crush on themselves, because we are really special. really special.
I can't thank you enough. It was really, really beautiful to introduce you to my beautiful movement here as well. And as I said, if anybody wants to get in touch with Mona, we will share the details below. And I just want to say thank you so much, like not just for my own reading, but also for sharing all these details with me here in the group. So thank you. Thank you for your beautiful energy.
Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, because I know that this can sound a little bit, a little bit hard to touch sometimes, feel free to reach out to me. I'm very happy to also jump on short calls, explain people a little bit more. No problem.
As one of those rare people, take a good look, who is not really on Facebook. So you will need to reach out through the link that I'll be posting below, because unfortunately, because usually I just tag people in there, but Mona is like, I'm actually not on Facebook. I'm like, wow, I love it. This is amazing that there's still people who are not.
I am on Instagram if people want to reach out there. But yes, you have my link.
Please send me your Instagram handle so I can share it in the group below as well, so people can get in touch with you either through your website or Instagram. Whatever you want to share, I can happily put it in the comments for you. So thank you for your beautiful energy. Thank you everybody for watching this. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Lots of love to all of you. Thank you, Mona.
Much love and
light to New York.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.